welcome to yet another episode of Inside High School Sports, yet another jam-packed episode of Inside High School Sports. My name is Alex Brasky alongside Nate Ryder of the Batavia Daily News. Nate, we've been all over the board so far during this winter season. Wrestling, swimming, girls basketball, boys basketball, riflery. I mean, we've had it all for you here on Inside High School Sports. And this week we begin with wrestling. More specifically, the Leroy wrestling team going through one of their most successful seasons in recent years, led by Andrew Englerth, champion-level wrestler. And Nate, he told you that he's really looking for that state championship this year, but that whole team has a great chance for success at the upcoming sectionals.
Yeah, and they taught me something I didn't know, that Leroy's never had a state champion wrestler. And, you know, you think back of all the great wrestling teams Leroy's had, especially under Coach Gately, to not have a state champion, it's kind of surprising. But, yeah, between him and Phil Hahn and Nate Andrews and a bunch of those other kids, there's a lot of talent on that team. And I mentioned Coach Gately, he's been there forever, seemingly, and now in an assistant capacity. But between him and Coach Conadorio, they got that team working well. You know, it might not be a sectional winning team per se, because, you know, the way the pieces fall in wrestling, but, you know, the program's definitely on the rise up from where it was a few years ago.
Yeah, we stopped by at Leroy practice. We spoke with head coach Conadorio, as well as a few of those guys that Nate mentioned, as well as Cole Rauscher and Joe Brennan. Talent all across the board, but like Nate said, it might not fall the right way for them because they do have a lot of youthful pieces as well. But here's a brief interview that myself and Nate conducted this past week with the Leroy Knights wrestling team.
Probably the biggest thing when it comes to our success has to be our coaching. You know, Conadorio works really hard to make us what we are and how good we can actually be on the mat, and he brings us all together and makes us perform at our best. This is the best part of the season, is the end of the season towards these big tournaments like counties and sectionals. So, you know, always really excited. I mean, the whole season you're excited for all the tournaments and everything, but like this is when it's at its most, like the most hype you can get about everything.
Now, Joey, you've had a successful career, but maybe you're at your best this year. I think 38-1 right now. He just spoke about Coach Conadorio. And what are some of the specific things you think that he does, him and Coach Gately, that allow you guys to flourish the way that you are and some of your teammates are this year?
Well, he always works with us. He's some of our partners sometime, so he helps us work harder with that and just everything he does for us.
Now, Coach, you and him kind of are the same body type, size. I'm sure you're one of his partners in practice. How exciting is it getting after it with Coach in practice?
It's exciting every time because you're wrestling someone your weight and way more better than you, and you just want to get better.
It's just really nice because after every day of school, I'm with Cole or Andrew, whether it's football, wrestling, or track. We're building bonds together every day, and it just helps us more as we work as a team. Just to see the people around you winning is nice. I cheer on the little kids just as much as I cheer on Andrew or Phil in their matches.
We've had most of these guys since 8th grade, and we've started rebuilding what Coach Gately built 20 years ago. So I credit most of this work to these guys and the work they put in after the season.
You know, you mentioned Coach Gately. I saw him when I walked in here. You know, I'm dating myself, but he was here when I was here, and he's still here. And how important has he been to this program?
Oh, he's been huge. He was my high school coach, and we kind of, as he started to step out, he reached out and said, "Are you interested?" And I said, "Let me give it a try." And that's kind of how I started. So bringing him back on as we've progressed has been huge help in the practice room and in competition.
You know, Andrew, obviously you had a great football season, but, you know, wrestling's been your thing for a number of years, and now you're finally a senior. What does this all kind of mean to you, being a senior for this group of guys?
Well, it's not really any different than any year because a lot of the kids ended up looking up to me because I was more experienced, but now that we have such a young team, it's the same principles as before, just working hard in the practice room. Feels good to be actually winning and rebuilding a team that was once known to be the best around.
You know, Andrew, obviously a lot of goals for you this year. You know, what's the main goal? Is it states? Is that what you're looking at right now?
There hasn't been a state champion in Leroy before, so that's the goal.
Well, the ceiling's where they set it. I mean, I think Andrew hit the nail on the head. I mean, we haven't had a state champion yet, and that's always the goal going into that final tournament of the year. So can only hope for one this year.
The practices are, very hard. Coach pushes us to be our best, and a lot of drilling, and focuses on just the basics and doing what makes you successful on the mat. There are several guys do club stuff, and during the off season they are able to bring back certain techniques that they learn at their clubs, which helps the guys who don't a lot.
And another great story in the Glow region, Nate. Another successful program that's really ramped it up this season. The Livonia swimming team. Head coach Jonah Keeley, I hope I'm saying that correctly, but the big news was Phil Morgan set 4 meet records at the LCAA's 2 individual events and 2 relays, the 200 IM, 201.41, 100 backstroke, 54.07 seconds, and then both his relays, the 200 medley and the 400 freestyle, also record-setting times. But we spoke with our cohort, Chris Metcalf, and he told us Livonia will be in the hunt to capture a Section 5 Class B title this year. Although it's an ultra-competitive field, the Bulldogs are having one of their best seasons that they've had in quite some time. And our own Chris Metcalf stopped out, spoke with Coach Keeley, Phil Morgan, as well as a few other guys from the Bulldogs team, which have helped Morgan achieve great success in the relays.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite meet going into the year. LCAs are definitely fun. We got a lot of great coaches and athletes in the area, so it's good to showcase some of our kids. And knowing Phil and how he did throughout the year, it didn't surprise me, but it was great to see some awesome meet records and some school records fall that day.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of them I did, but 2 I couldn't do without myself. I had Robbie, Logan, and Frisbee with us.
Yeah, 2 relays, absolutely.
Yeah. And I couldn't have done it without them. We just all have to do our part. Everyone has to swim their best and swim what they can do, and then we'll see what happens.
Those practices I'm just watching, and they're pretty intense. Describe Coach Keel's practices. They're pretty intense.
They are. But every day we work hard, and that's how we get so good.
Coach, someone told me this kid's only swam 3 years. Not even quite 3 years yet. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, it was definitely a benefit to have. I mean, looking at last year's team with everybody returning, we were going to be even better than last year, and plugging in Phil to the lineup is definitely a dream come true for a coach for sure.
Sum up how fun it's been. This is your first year on the Livonia swim team. You guys, pretty close in there. You can just kind of tell how you guys have good camaraderie and stuff. Just talk about the team chemistry.
It's crazy how welcoming they have been. I've only been here a couple months for the school year, and all of them have really accepted me, even though they've been together so long.
We haven't expected to do this well this early, but it's been super exciting so far, and we're excited for sectionals. So
it's just all the work that we've put in, all the swimming that we've done, it's just paying off, and it just feels so awesome.
James, talk about that work. How much off-season work do you put in?
I myself don't put in as much as I should because I am involved in other sports, but I know these guys, they just go crazy. As far as I know, they're all year round.
I take a little bit of time off to focus on baseball, but once summer comes, I'm right back in the pool.
I take time off for the track season, but summer comes, I'm back in the pool. I think we are. We've put in the time. I think it'll all pan out at the right time for us.
Yeah, I think the pressure's definitely off, and now we can just relax and swim our hearts out.
All right, Nate, and staying in the pool, but moving a little closer to home, Genesee Community College's pool, where the Notre Dame Batavia boys swim team went through an undefeated regular season. Their best season as a merged team since merging a few seasons ago. And I spoke with head coach Eric Geithner, and he said a big reason for their success is the come up from the Batavia guys. Back when they first merged, Batavia didn't really fill a lot of the shoes that they needed, but now you can see in the interview it's 3 Batavia guys, 1 Notre Dame guy really leading that team. So I really think the Blue Devils addition to that program has worked wonders for them and showing up this year.
Yeah, especially in terms of a team in general swimming. It's it's like wrestling. You got to fill holes, and especially with swimming, it helps to get seconds and thirds, and to go undefeated and beat a private school like Hurley Allendale Columbia out of Rochester. It's a pretty tall feat to do, And what they've been able to accomplish is pretty impressive. Batavia wasn't ever known for their swimming acumen, I should say, and Notre Dame's small. So, it only made sense. And, you don't see Notre Dame and Batavia combine on many things, if any. So to see them be able to do that and to be successful is kind of neat, considering, they're right in the same town and they're able to do it. And, like you said, they've built it with these kids, and, it's good for them, and it's good for them going forward because they're not done yet.
Yeah, and like Nate said, they're not done. They've had a great season so far, but like you can see in this upcoming interview, they have hopes for the future. They hope to set some records at sectionals and at the league meet that they have coming up. They are really chomping at the bit to add to their already successful season. All right, here with the Notre Dame Batavia merged boys swimming team, undefeated regular season, so a lot of success on this team all across the board. Aaron, what do you think's led to your guys' great success as a team this year? You have, obviously, you four talented swimmers, great coaches, but what do you think's been the key to your guys' success this year?
I was looking forward to you asking that. Actually, the whole thing with us winning is that even though me, Cooper, and Harry, and Cooper, may get first, but it's a whole team thing. We need other people to get those seconds and the third places, also in the relays to get second places when we have a second relay. And then that's what really contributes to us getting the total amount of points we do, which helps us win the meet.
It's really great. I've known Aaron's for years now, and I'm just meeting some other cool new guys on the team. And it's just great to be able to see some new people.
Personally, I've always loved swimming just recreationally, but really it's the competition that really makes me love it. I love going to prelims and finals and pushing myself to make it and win, and it's always a lot of fun. I mean, it's very clear-cut to know how you do, and it's really easy to set goals for yourself and push yourself harder because you're in practice. You can see yourself, what you're doing, and you know what you can go in a meet, and it helps you set very realistic goals, but also make it fun when you achieve them.
Now, Cooper, swimming's also unique that there's so many different strokes that you can do. It's not just one skill. There's a bunch of different skills. How did you decide on what was your strongest, and how long did it take for you to figure out what your strongest stroke was?
I just started doing every stroke, and by how fast my times were compared to everyone else's, I just figured out which one was best for me. Personally, breaststroke is best for me. I compete well in that and against other people. It took me about a year I've been doing breaststroke to get my time down.
Sectionals is coming up here. You had a great regular season, but how much are you looking forward to sectionals and maybe winning a couple titles here in the next couple of weeks?
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun. I'm trying to get some best time and hopefully break some records.
Harrison, like I said, you have a great coaching staff. They put in a ton of time. Coach Geithner, just all across the board. How important are they to your guys' success in this undefeated season?
Very important. I get out of a race and I instantly talk to my coach. He critiques me and I see what I could do better. I mean, there's always something you can get better at. So it's just really good to have them pinpoint those specific things and push us to work harder than we've ever worked.
Well, I think having the two schools merge was huge for us. Before, it was very difficult to field a complete team, filling in those holes, and getting Batavia on board and mattering in meets. They've been swimming with us for about 13 years as an incomplete team, and to finally have them count for points in meets, it's great for them. It's great for the community, and it brings a lot of diversity into the program. So.
Well, first of all, we have a bunch of kids that have swimming experience coming into the mix. So we're not starting out from the ground here. They've all swam for the Y as age groupers, and that's what we like to see kids do because they get a lot of experience. They come in. But these are hard-working boys in the classroom and then in the pool. I give them hard workouts every day, and they just rise to the occasion every single day.
Like I said, it's a unique sport. It's different. For kids that may not have that coordination for basketball and baseball at a young age, it's something that they can, get in there and challenge themselves every day. And they know how they're doing. They can look at the clock, like you said earlier. You see at the end of your race, you see the scoreboard there, you see your time up there, and you know you have that immediate feedback. And that's the great thing about it. You had that very big individual aspect of it, but you also had the team aspect. When we're in meets, and especially like last Friday night, we needed all 8 guys to contribute, and everybody stepped up and did what they needed to do for the success of the team.
All right, Nate, and one topic we've already touched on this season was Colton Dillon when he scored his 1,000th point. But we really wanted to hone in on something more specific, and you touched on it in the interview with the recent passing of Kobe Bryant. It brought up a lot of talk about Kobe's work ethic and how hard he worked to get to where he got to in the sport of basketball. And you brought it up with Coach Zambito. Colton Dillon cut from kind of the same cloth, works his butt off in season, out of season, and just tell us a little bit about this upcoming interview with Coach Zambito, talking about how hard Colton Dillon works.
Yeah, I talked with both of him, Coach Zambito and Colton. And first thing you got to remember, this is a 3-sport kid. He plays football, plays track, does everything well, but this is a kid pulled up as a freshman. I think we talked about it a little bit. Didn't do a heck of a lot as a freshman. It was a loaded team that won the sectional title, but they all kind of knew what they had with this kid, and he showed it as a sophomore, but he didn't rest on what he had, and he continued to get bigger. He continued to get better. He works on his game. He's a humble kid. He's never satisfied with what he's done. And Coach also kind of told me that, he doesn't know his stats. He doesn't know where he is in Elba history. He only knew that he was near 1,000 because Coach had told him. He's one of those kids, and he's become one of the kids that the younger kids, the 5th, 6th graders, the 7th graders have really looked up to, because, you see the best kid on the floor. Oftentimes he's not the hardest working kid, and Colton Dillon is the hardest working kid on that team, and it's really shown this year.
And you can just hear from these remarks from Coach Zambito, he has glowing praise for his senior leader.
In my senior speech for him, I have included every day in the summer, I'll get a text message about between 9 and 11. Hey, Coach, you going into the gym today? I want to shoot, or I want to lift. He works, and I think that most kids think they work hard. Mm-hmm. He actually works hard. He put the time in since he was in 8th grade, dedicated himself, getting bigger. He's always working on his jumper, obviously, but now he's really worked his way up to what he is now. It's big, especially for like our youth kids, to see how our star guy is also our hardest worker, because that doesn't always happen. Usually it's rare to have both. To have your best guy be your hardest worker.
Yeah.
But he is. I mean, he's scoring all these points and he's getting all these stats and stuff like that. But he has the background to back it up. That I work here. I've earned this. So yeah, he's shy. Sometimes I gotta get on him for not talking on the court as much as I would like him to. But He is. He's intrinsically motivated. He's not gonna, go and express how proud of himself he is. He's all about wins. So as long as we win, that's the biggest thing with him.
And it seems like he not only is a leader, being a senior and being one of the better ones, but he seems like he just wants to be one of the guys. And they're all just, a lot of times you see a player of his caliber kind of stick out a little bit. If you didn't know, it just seemed like he's just one of the players. Is that kind of what you see from him?
It is with him, and it's like that with the whole group. I would say that this is probably the tightest group I've had. Is my 5th year, and I've had some close, really good teams. But collectively, the way they get along, both on the court and outside of the gym, they're tight, and I think that's important. And he definitely leads that. Sky's the limit for sure. He can lead this team to places that the school hasn't gone to before. I know that that's one of his goals. He wants to be the best. He wants to play on a team that's been the best. So, yeah, we'll see. But to answer your question, he has no limits.
All right, remaining within the Genesee region, kind of. But on the girls' side, the Wheatland-Chili Wildcats, big win over Byron Burgeon this past week. You were there. You saw what was kind of a topsy-turvy game. I mean, the Wheatland-Chili went up by a bunch. Then they allowed Burgeon to storm back, but they were able to hold on. What did you see from head coach Gary Ward and his ladies this week against the Bees?
It's always interesting watching Wheatland-Chili because I think this is probably the third year in a row at least that they have 6 players on the team.
Yeah.
That's it. And you have to question how they're able to do it with just 6 and maintain that energy. And, they all seem to like it. They like the dog fight, they said, is kind of how they put it. And, they were in one against a good Burgeon team. I mean, admittedly, I know Burgeon will say they played poorly the first quarter and a half of Thursday night's game and found themselves down 19, but stormed back. And you think a team with 6 players would just kind of fold and fold up shop and get out. But no, they held their own. They ended up coming away with the win. And, with just 6 players, they do have 2 of the best players in the league, and Jenna Lemire and Lindsay Clare. So, this is one of those sneaky teams that because they're Wheatland-Chili and they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, you don't really think of them that much. But their losses this year have been close, have been to good teams, and I think last night's win will do a lot for these girls going forward.
Yeah, and if he has them, they think the exact same as Nate.
Hey, we're here with Wheatland-Chili's Lindsay Clare, Jenna Lemire, Coach Gary Ward after a tough, thrilling win here against a good Byron Burgeon team. Coach, it always amazes me how these guys get it done with just 6 players on the team. How are they able to withstand what Byron Burgeon did tonight and that comeback and still pull it off?
I have no idea. No, there's one thing we say about this group, especially the older ones who I've known for quite a long time, is that they're really tough to beat, and they hate to lose, and they never quit. We try to tell them that it's a game of runs, and you can't get discouraged when somebody runs against you. Just keep playing hard, do the hard stuff, and the game will turn around. And settle down into a dogfight in the second half, and that's our game.
Playing a team like this in their gym, granted it wasn't that loud, but to come in here and get this big win for you guys, what does it mean?
It means a lot. We've worked really hard this year. With the low players we have, it's hard for us to sustain really long runs, and they played a great game. And we just came out, and our game is dogfight, and we're ready to play, and we're always there to play. And when it gets rough, that's when we really shine. So I think that means a lot to us.
We just, especially on offense, we kept our composure, really moved the ball and found each other well, making cuts, and we knew right where we were, which was really good with all of our short numbers. We can play really well with each other, just know where we are. And on defense, we had some solid defense, always jumping passes and just helping out, getting those hands up on shots. It definitely gives us a huge confidence boost to know that Burgeon was a great competition for us. They're one of our top teams in our league, and to come out with a win really makes us think that we can overcome anything possible, and coming back from down really puts us in high hopes for the future.
Jen, obviously they're going to key on you and Lindsay. How do you guys adapt to that as the game goes on, and how do you handle it?
It's hard. A lot of times when they're doing a triangle and 2, we really just like to work together. We've played with each other for a really long time. We try to keep our composure as much as we can and work as hard as we can, and no matter what happens, we know we have the team all behind us, and we're working together the whole time.
I think we want to celebrate and put it in the bank and go back to work because we still got 6 games to go, and I think they still have more to do. We got more things to improve on, and we want the key for us is the postseason. We're still developing.
All right, Nate. And now moving to the Livingston Conference, and back to boys basketball. The York Golden Knights, their biggest win of the season, undoubtedly, came this past week over Red Jacket, previously unbeaten Red Jacket, who's currently atop the Class C1 standings. But he asked Coach Ed Orman, and he says this is just another checkbox or whatever he said, but you got to be excited if you're a Golden Knight. That was a huge win. They played well. They went up big early and allowed the Indians to storm back, and they too held on, kind of like the Wildcats did against the Bees. But it was an impressive win all around. Riley Stella had a huge game. A couple other guys played really well. And another thing, they limited Chase Rizzo, one of the most talented players in Section 5, one of the most physically gifted players in Section 5. He still was able to go for, I believe, 24 points. But really limited him in the key spots, and And I just think it was a really impressive win from the Golden Knights.
I mean, I give all the credit to the mullet.
Yes.
Because that is the greatest mullet, or at least one of the top 3 mullets I've seen in a long time.
And you'll see what we're talking about coming up in the interview.
And there's no joke. It's a great mullet. But that's I mean, they lost a couple pieces from last year, but that's a really experienced team. And, you know, I haven't seen much of them during the regular season, but the past number of years I've seen them in summer leagues, and these are hard-working kids, and it's a good basketball team they got over there. And you know, somebody told me the other day, Red Jacket hasn't played anybody, but they have some talented players on that team, and that's a tough place to go and play. And for York to come out with that win kind of shows what they're capable of doing, and puts them at that upper echelon of you know, the Livingston Conference.
Yeah, and we mentioned Chase Rizzo, but they also have Matt Record, who scored his 1,000th career point the other night. So Red Jacket is a team to be reckoned with, and for the Knights to head all the way down there, beat them on their home court, and you'll hear from these guys. I mean, it was an intense atmosphere. Almost the entire town came out to watch that game. So it was an exciting atmosphere and an exciting win for Ed Orman Jr. and his Golden Knights. York boys basketball, huge win over previously unbeaten Red Jacket. Coach Ed Orman, Coach, I mean, you guys got out to that huge lead. You let it whittle away. You got back out to it, and then it came all the way down to the end. What do you think it took for you guys down the stretch to hold on to that game?
We scheduled this game to come on the road because I didn't think last year we were tough enough. And hopefully nights like this make us tougher, and we get those free throws and those layups next time in a big game, we'll make them. On top of all this stuff, being on the road against undefeated teams, we've played Friday, Saturday, tonight. We play tomorrow, Thursday, Saturday. We have to teach toughness. We have to be tougher.
It was awesome. They were undefeated, and we knew it was going to be tough when we got here. And they had a big crowd, and we just had to fight because that was a huge game. I mean, it just makes us better.
Well, we talked about it all week. This was the big game in our stretch that we wanted to get, and coming up with a win is it's gonna be good. Yeah, great atmosphere. It was loud. Yeah, that's gonna help us down the stretch. Those games like that, just knowing what to do and being prepared.
We just kept saying over and over, we need another stop. We need another stop. We need good possessions, not bad shots, and knock it out on shooters and stuff. We need good possessions to assure that we have the ball in the end and that we get the W.
Now, Luke, Chase Rizzo, obviously a really solid player. You helped out underneath. It was kind of a team effort for you guys. He was still able to get his, especially there in the fourth quarter. He really led them back. But how key was it coming into this game, limiting him and making sure you slowed him down?
Yeah, that was a big key in this game. We knew we had to hold him down in the inside and then just get hands on shooters, don't let him make shots. Yeah, this shows that, and I don't think you can deny it. Beating an undefeated team tonight, coming on the road, loud atmosphere, it was a good win.
You know, it's just a little checkmate. It's a regular season win. We could see that team again down the road. I'm proud of them, but I've been with these guys for so long. We're like a family. I mean, these guys were eating breakfast in my house yesterday morning. My kids were playing NBA 2K.
Yeah.
I know everything I need to know about them. Now it's just making sure we're in situations that we have to perform the way we're capable of.
All right, Nate, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Inside High School Sports. It's, like I said, another jam-packed episode. It just seems to be getting more exciting as we go. Great interviews with some great kids and great coaches from around the region. But like I do every week, I'm going to ask you something, but it's not going to be the usual question. Who do you got in the Super Bowl?
Redskins aren't playing?
Ugh, no, neither are the Bills, unfortunately.
What's the spread? Am I going spread?
No spread. Straight up. Who do you got in the
Kansas
big
City
game?
wins, they cover.
All right.
And I'm guessing it goes under because I think that the over-under's high.
You heard it here first. Nate Ryder on the Chiefs. And you know what? Give me the Chiefs, baby.
Wow.
We'll see you next week.